every day in the police department. I kicked those crackers' ass, man. I was unbelievable.
Yeah, and so when he became the mayor, and obviously the mayor gets to pick the leadership of the police department, starting with the police commissioner. He made a big deal about reaching out because he wanted an African-American woman. And he basically had African-American women who were in police departments, high-ranking black African-American women come and audition. And when all was said and done, he said, the best by far was Keyshawn Sewell. And, oh, boy, he had his Eric Adams Republican mimicking that every step of the way. Congressman Peter King. Oh, she's the best. She was the head of the Nassau County Detectives. Laura Curran, the same thing. She was the best. Oh, she's going to be the greatest police commissioner of all time. And I said, this is nonsense. They're Eric Adams Republicans. He can do no wrong in their eyes. I said, she is not acting as the police commissioner. If you talk to the cops internally, which none of them do, I'm surprised, Lou. Peter King is always out at a gin mill, right, banging it back with active cops, retired cops, but he doesn't want to hear it. She can't do anything. Everywhere she goes, she's shadowed by a high-ranking cop. I'm not going to mention his name, but wherever she goes, he goes. Parade, public function, private function, he's side by side with her. That's the shadow who lets City Hall know everything that's going on. She's not even permitted to meet with her deputy chiefs and her chiefs. She has one meeting each and every week on a Sunday with the crooked Phil Banks, who was made the deputy mayor of public safety. Now you're saying, why do you call him crooked, Curtis? Because he was involved in that entire investigation of the most corrupt agency in the police department, those that sell the permits to carry guns. And oh boy, he was right in the middle of that mishigash. And he became a unindicted co-conspirator in that, who, wisely for him, became a confidential informant. The rest of his colleagues either were forced to retire or their reputations were completely sullied. And, I mean, we're talking about these two Jewish guys, these Orthodox guys who are whining, dining, and pocket-lining de Blasio, and the cops who were giving the permits, flying them to Vegas, hooking them up with hookers who were orally fixating them on flights to Vegas. Whatever these high-ranking cops want, they got. And Phil Banks was one of them. Yet he survived by being a confidential informer, and many of his colleagues, they were busted down, and rightfully so. But then all of a sudden, Eric Adams decided he was going to resurrect the confidential informer, an unindicted co-conspirator, Phil Banks. He never had a press conference for him. He didn't want him to be exposed to the press corps. And he runs the police department. Everybody knows that. He doesn't have an office in One Police Plaza. He doesn't have an office in City Hall. He is the deputy mayor for public safety, and his office is in the Verizon building, which is a few blocks away from One Police Plaza, and one of the top floors. And that office is used by him and Eric Adams. You don't have to answer for whoever it is that's visiting you there. And I'm telling you, this guy, that's where they bring the loot. I'm declaratively telling you, people who visit Deputy Mayor Phil Banks, that's where you negotiate a deal with Phil Banks on behalf of the administration. That's where you wine them, dine them, and pocket line them, because it's out of sight, out of mind. This guy, when he was on duty, a high-ranking police commissioner, he almost became the police commissioner. Charlene McClain, wife of Bill de Blasio, said, you got to make Phil Banks your police commissioner. Wisely, de Blasio said, I'll never get elected. I got a promise in the Democratic primary that if I'm elected and I go on to beat, in this case, Joe Loda, that my police commissioner is going to be Bill Bratton. And Bill Bratton said, yeah, if he's elected, I'll be his police commissioner, and that sealed the deal. So we thought Phil Banks had sort of floated off into the private sector. But when he was active, when he was a heartbeat away from being police commissioner, he would end up laundering money. How do you launder money when you're in the streets, whether it's a drug dealer or any kind of illegal activity? Lou, you just keep putting money in and out of ATM machines all day. It goes in, it comes out. It goes in, it comes out. It's the poor man's way of doing money laundering instead of walking into a bank with a big bag of cash. So that's Phil Banks. He's the shot caller. Keyshawn Sliwa has one meeting each week, and it's with Phil Banks, and it's on a Sunday. And I'm hoping it's not at a hotel, motel, Holiday Inn Express. I'm hoping maybe it's in the pew of some local church because this guy's dirty. Keyshawn Sewell is a placebo. She's police commissioner in name only. The New York Post goes into great detail to outline this in Sunday's paper, saying a lot of the same things that I've been saying for about a year. And all of my naysayers have been saying, oh, you just hate Eric Adams. You're making stuff up on him and Keyshawn Sewell. I'm not. And then, because she finally flexed her powers as the police commissioner against the highest-ranking uniformed officer now, Jeffrey Madry, right, a heartbeat away from being commissioner himself. He's another friend of Eric Adams. He can do no wrong. He's had white shirt immunity every step of the way, as any black, white, Hispanic, or Asian has, male or female, what they call white shirt immunity. So in 2011, he's chasing trim in the police department, man. He's a married guy with a family. And, I mean, he's snacking on women all over the place. And he hooks up with a woman that ended up being his worst nightmare. A police officer who served as his driver and assistant, Tabitha Foster. And he was having sex with her in the car, in the office. He was using as an excuse that he needed her to prepare the ComStat for him to ensure he would have constant close contact with her. Then she finds out, Lou, that he's a player, that he's chasing other females in the police department and engaging them in sex. This guy's out of control. He should have had saltpeter. You know, I mean, he taken totally abusing his position. He was in charge of the 75th Precinct in East New York. And then one night, they had a horrible fight, December of 2015. This is all on the record. And anybody want to challenge me on these facts, I've talked about this before on the radio, and nobody paid attention or listened. So they're having a horrible fight, and it's in Ozone Park, not far from the 75th Precinct. It's on the hill of a park. And according to Tabitha, he's hitting her, he's threatening her. And Lou, you know what she did? She pulled out her service revolver. Now, they're not in uniform. They're in civilian garb, and she aims it at his head. Naturally, the residents who live in proximity to that park, they're calling 911. The cops come flooding in. Uniformed officers in marked cars. They flood in, they take their guns out, they walk to the top of the hill. They order Jeffrey Madry, put that gun down, put that gun down. He flashes his badge, and he says, I got this. I got this. Tabitha had the gun at his head. You know how that mama drama goes, oh my God, like a novella. And the cops backed off, and nothing was said about that for 2 months until somebody dropped dime. Nothing happened to this guy. Absolutely nothing at all. I think he was given a suspension, for about 45 days, and then he was back at it, climbing the ranks. Recently, he walked into his old precinct, the 73rd Precinct in Brownsville. Never ran, never will. A place that I got locked up in many times. I know the insides of that jail cell inside out. And he goes up to the precinct commander, and he says, I understand you have a cop in here. You busted him, a former cop, because he had pulled his revolver on a bunch of kids in the neighborhood. He owns this building over there. He goes, I want you to release him into my custody right now. Naturally, he's like the ranking member of the police department. And they did so. And so City Hall wanted nothing to be done to this guy. Again, Jeffrey Madry, again, the highest ranking NYPD uniformed officer, a heartbeat away from being the commissioner. And finally, Keyshawn Sewell said, no, we have to put this guy on trial for this, police trial. This is wrong. This guy is a predicate offender of the rules of the police department. As soon as Keyshawn Sewell said that she would not adhere to the orders from headquarters to leave this alone, they cracked down on her big time. They won't even let her fill out a form for basic transfers. It has to go through Eric Adams at City Hall. A normal procedure that all police commissioners have been involved with historically has been able to promote detectives to higher grades or turn cops into detectives for meritorious service. They're not letting her do that any longer. She's on the shelf. She is a police commissioner in name only. I told you that a year ago. You said I was making it up. Now I want to hear from all of you out there who claim that Keyshawn Sewell is the best police commissioner we've ever had. Huh? What do you got to say now, Peter King? What do you got to say now, Laura Curran? They won't even let her function. That's your guy, Eric Adams, who says everything comes through City Hall, a.k.a. the crooked deputy mayor for public safety who should have been in jail, Phil Banks.